Round one of the NFL draft is in the books, and we can start to talk about some fancy relevance from our rookies. Now we know their landing spots. First up, we are going not with the player picked number one overall, but they did go higher than someone predicted, and we are feeling confident remains the rookie 101. That is Jeremiyah Love. Now, there was a lot of talk about the Cardinals in a few days before. Some people still seemed surprised that he ended up there, but that's where a lot of directions seemed to go. And let's be honest, anyone that was going to trade up was going to have to give a haul. How are you feeling, Tom, about Jeremiyah Love being a Cardinal? Is he still your 101?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Sad times for James Conner. Quick mention for him. Obviously, he's been an absolute stalwart of fantasy. Clearly, they're moving on from him now. Tyler Algier, was it that got as well? Some worry there, really.
This is my worry. Algier's been a perpetual fantasy gremlin, hasn't he? He's been Bijan'd. He's thought he had a chance to have a clear run, and Jeremiyah Love comes in. Are you worried about that for Jeremiyah Love's workload?
Early on in the season, perhaps. I think the first 7 weeks, I think, Algier will be in. There'll perhaps be RB, 1A, 1B. But I think long-term, Love's got to take over. He's certainly a more talented running back than Algier. Although, Algier's serviceable, he's okay. But Love really could be that difference maker, I think.
I mean, looking at the receptions, we could probably chalk up for maybe 50 receptions, handful of receiving touchdowns as well. I think our main focus at this stage of the season is our dynasty value, and Tyler Algier is not going to be there forever. He isn't an RB1 overall. I'm still happy to take Love as my 101. Fancy relevant from day one. If you draft him, you're going to play him, aren't you? You're not going to have him sat on your bench when we get to the first week of the season. Over the whole season, though, what would you expect? What can we hope from him next year? I feel, are we looking between the low end RB1, high RB2, somewhere between RB10 and 14 overall?
Yeah, something around there. As I say, I think he'll have, a slower start. But as the season goes on, I think he's got to take over that backfield. He's a very talented player. You mentioned Bijan. He's not Bijan level, but he's certainly a quality running back. He's shown throughout his college career, and having that PPR value as well. Being able to catch the ball and being darn good at it. He's got to move up, surely. So yeah, I don't think he'll be an RB1 this year. Just outside the top 12, I think's about right.
Let's move on to our wide receivers then, and a player who, I'll be honest, I wasn't over the moon with this landing spot initially. I think I've warmed to it though, and that is Carnell Tate, who went pick 4 to the Titans. We spoke in our rookie preview shows. You look at his production numbers last year, I don't think we can panic about that too much. He was sharing the field with next year's potential 101, Jeremiah Smith, which made that production go down a little bit. But is Cam Ward's main man now, surely? If we've got a target monster there, we would hope. And that's the big deal for fantasy, isn't it?
Yes, certainly. I mean, is it Wan'Dale Robinson they've taken on as well?
Yeah, so, that's nice. Little complimentary bit.
He had an excellent sort of spell last season, didn't he? But, you want another wide receiver with you that can actually do something as well. If you are literally the only player on the field that can catch the ball, that's so detrimental for you. He's clearly going to get the number one cornerbacks, isn't he, Tate, I think, because he's that good. And Cam Ward worries me. I'm surprised you've come round to it. It's not the ideal landing spot for me. That's my big worry, really, with him.
I think if Cam Ward can push the ball down the field, he's getting a 6'3", colossal wingspan. He's albatross-esque, is Tate, and he can make some difficult catches as well. I just think, have we got that potential fit where we've got a young quarterback with a young wide receiver, and they can kind of grow into the role together? Now, I'm not getting overexcited by Ward. I think what I'm just feeling is, though, surely he could be looking at 120-ish targets. Surely it's got the potential to be accounting for maybe up to a third of the passing touchdowns that we get from Ward. So I just think with the volume alone should make him fancy. Other place I'd rather have seen him 100%. I just think I went from initially going like, oh, that's rubbish, to, there is a chance this could work out here. I just think he's what Cam Ward needs. We said in our rookie shows, he's such an intelligent route runner. He is going to be a QB's best friend. if Cam Ward doesn't do it this year, we are going to be questioning next year how long he has left to prove it. But yeah, I'm excited to see Carnell Tate in that production role. If you're watching this for the first time and you would like to see more of our stuff through the off season, please do click subscribe, give us a like and a share. Check us all of our stuff out that is on YouTube at the moment, from our rookie previews, our shows currently now. We'll be doing some winners and losers and fancy shorts throughout the season as well. A player who I think landing spot has done him some good, and also where he has gone, I feel might dispel some of those injury worries, and that is Jordyn Tyson, who has ended up at the Saints. Now, he will be the number 2 to Chris Olave, but potentially still worth 100+ targets. Similar to what we said about Cam Wood, Tyler Shough has got such a good offense at his disposal now with Olave and Tyson. I mean, just looking at highlights there, what Tyson is capable of. I think he's also been drafted high enough that I'm no longer worried about the injury concerns. He would not have been taken at 8 if they had serious concerns. Actually, our next wide receiver who dropped a little bit. What are your thoughts on Tyson? Are you happy with that? Are you worried about what Olave will do to damage his fantasy production?
I mean, we talk about injury. I've had Olave on a number of teams, and the concussion has been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah,
He's
to be
been
fair.
out so many games. Perhaps they'll be lucky to have them both on the field together at the same time at point. I think when they're together, there'll be a fantastic 1-2 punch. I mean, there's not really much else there, is there, for Shough to throw to? The ghost of Alvin Kamara, we'd assume he'd be gone this year. Who else really is there to give the ball to? Again, he's been another monster in terms of fantasy production, in terms of production at college level. So I do expect that to translate fairly well, to the pro game. Where do you see him going in terms of rookie picks then and for Tate, actually, as well? We skipped over Tate. Where do you see these two going in terms of rookie drafts?
I stand by where I was looking at before, that I think that I'm still taking Love at the 1 and then picks 2, 3, and 4 in your rookie drafts. Do you know, I'd go as far as say for Suplex for me, and a lot of people disagree with that. These 3 wide receivers are the next 3 off the board. And I think I'm probably Tate and Tyson, I'm not sure yet. I think Lemon, because the competition drops down a little bit further for me, so he's probably my 4th pick now. But all 3 of them, I wouldn't be shocked if they were wide receiver 2s come the end of the season.
Yeah. I spot on for me. I think we look at the league, they do seem to be moving on very quickly from wide receivers. There's been a lot of talented young players coming through the last few years. So yeah, I totally agree on that one, really. What about go on.
No, carry on.
I was going to say, what about in redraft? Where do you fancy these guys in redraft?
That's what, do you know what? This is what I find a bit difficult till I've worked through a couple of kind of mock drafts, player on sleeper, and have a look at where everything else lands, because I think we're always too high on where we take our rookie wide receivers in redraft, because we get about, there's still, I know we mention it far too often really, but people still think, do I have to get a rookie wide receiver? It might be Puka Nacua and it'll be a bargain. Realistically, I think 1 or 2 of these might go late round 2 in redraft. For me, I think that's probably a bit high. I'm not really answering your question, Tom, at the minute. I think I'm not probably happy with any of these, because there are question marks for all of them until we get into round 4 and we're getting towards the 20th-ish wide receivers off the board, maybe. They're all ones that if you do pick them up there, you're going to have to weather that initial 5 or 6 games before you see in your reward, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, people tend to get a little bit excited. It does skew sort of ADP quite a lot, doesn't it? Particularly with these rookies.
Yeah.
So be cautious, but optimistic, I suppose.
A player that absolutely is not cautious, but is extremely optimistic, is next up Mr. Makai Lemon, the most confident young man in the whole of the NFL draft this year. I had said in our rookie previews, I thought he was potentially going to be the player that could contribute the most year 1. He lands with the Eagles, and he lands obviously alongside Devonta Smith. I don't see any way AJ Brown saves the Eagles now. I'm surprised he's still there at the minute at the time of recording, if I'm honest.
It's contract related, isn't it?
Yeah, so
With
AJ
Brown, I
Brown's going to
think
miss
after a
out.
certain date, his contract dips right off, and they can basically trade him for a lot.
Oh, is it something like the June the 1st window
so,
or something?
Yeah,
right.
So as soon as that hits, he's apparently a Patriot, but obviously we don't know that.
Yeah, I'm sure AJ Brown will have some swings and roundabouts for us to play with before then. Hollywood Brown, no, I'm not hugely worried, but it's some targets away. But that is what an exciting offense the Eagles have got now when it comes to that wide receiver group.
Yeah, it's about Hurts, I suppose, matching up to them. They've got so much talent there. You forgot my man, Dontavian Wicks.
I did.
It's such a phenomenal room. Can Hurts really sustain them all for the quality they need? He's a great quarterback, but is he good enough to truly see the best of Lemon? I suppose that would be my worry. You'd expect Smith to remain as the number one player in that offense, with Brown moving on. Surely Lemon's got to be number two, though. He's more talented than Wicks and Brown.
100%. Yeah, I am looking forward to what happens there. So I just a little bit. He probably does drop to my 104 now when I'm looking at my rankings. There is absolutely, though, a case in my head, depending on the makeup of my roster, where I may consider going QB at that point instead over Lemon. And that is obviously, we'll just go back to the start of the draft. Let's go to the 101. Let's go to the most obvious pick of the draft, Fernando Mendoza, ending up as a Raider. How long will he sit for is the obvious question. Now, I've read a couple of bits over the course of last week where people say, do you know, it may only be a few games. I heard someone earlier on say, it'll be 2 games maximum. I honestly, if I was betting, I think we're more likely to not see him very much at all this season than see him before October, as some are predicting. And for me, the reasons are what we've heard from the Raiders about not rushing a rookie QB into the lineup. Given Tom Brady's much publicized views about QBs and how they should sit for the first year, I mean, maybe that's bitterness because he had to do it. Who knows? But his journey is important as well. Tom Brady is going to have a huge voice in what happens with Fernando Mendoza's development. I think he'll be someone who will absolutely protect Mendoza in that regard. And I know that the Falcons are paying most of Kirk Cousins' contract, but that's not a contract that suggests Kirk is going to be the backup all season, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, with Kirk, you've got to come down to injuries, though, hasn't it? He's had those few nasty injuries over the last couple of years. You worry how, that's affected him, how many games he's really going to be able to play. But as you say, with Brady in the room, I mean, who else would you want really, mentoring your young quarterback? I think Kirk's going to be a great mentor as well. When you see him on, just seems such a great guy, doesn't he? And he is going to, you saw all that work he did at the Falcons. He didn't throw his toys out the pram. I think he was clearly upset, but he just knuckled down and got on and tried to help, So I'm not, I have to say, even in Superflex, I think I would probably take the other players we mentioned first, unless I'm QB needy. If I need a quarterback, but is he going to help me this year? As you say, that's your big worry, really, isn't it?
I think one thing I do find interesting as well, and this doesn't have any real relevance to fantasy or the NFL, but we said beforehand that he just struck me as a bit of a Kirk Cousins style character. And we said that about a week before, just before Kirk Cousins was through the door. Those two in Las Vegas, is it amazing? I feel this could be I feel it could be like the NFL equivalent of the film Step Brothers. Yeah. It's just such an odd setting. But yeah, I'm excited to see. But if you had to press me at the minute, I think it's coin flip whether we're talking about him at all in a couple of years or whether he could be really useful. Maybe that's my negativity on the style of QB is. I don't know, but I do think his best route to success is not being rushed into it. So he has got the opportunity, and I would love to see another QB of his style succeeding in the league and giving us some more fancy asset as well.
I think he needs some more assets, doesn't he? He needs more to throw the ball to. I know we've got Bowers there, but he just needs a few more options. They've got to sort of strengthen if he's going to be successful.
Do you think that'll be addressed in round 2, or will it not matter and it can be addressed next year because it's going to be Kirk's problem this year? Either or, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Either works for them, doesn't it? But obviously, if you take him in round one early on, you're going to be a bit gutted if he doesn't play.
Well, yeah. Something I do think we will agree on, though, is what a waste of the 13th overall pick. Anyone that's not seen it so far, go finish watching us first. Absolutely. Then after you've watched us, go and have a look for the Sean McVay press conference after this. He doesn't seem overly excited at all, which if you're taking a QB pick 13, you probably should be quite excited. And the best compliment he could muster was he'll be in competition for the backup with Stetson Bennett. That's not what I'd want to be hearing if I was Ty Simpson. That said, though, the landing spot for Ty Simpson is absolutely spot on. I don't think anybody was expecting Ty Simpson to land somewhere where we'd be drafting a fancy relevant QB from year one. This gives him the best chance for success in the NFL moving forwards and being a worthwhile stash on our taxi squads.
Yeah, as you say, that press conference really puts the dampener on it. It really does seem an odd pick, but such early draft capital, and that really does count for something,
Yeah.
But Stafford, yes, he's had his injuries as well, and he's certainly aging. Is time going to catch up with him? Are they going to treat him like Jordyn Love? Is he the next Jordyn Love, or he's going to sit behind and develop and come out and be this great player? I don't think he's quite as talented as Love was. Obviously, I'm slightly biased. It just feels like another Stetson Bennett, but they've taken him at 30. It's very odd, very, very odd pick for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too long on him because Ty Simpson, there'll be a point where he's valuable and then you stash him on the taxi squad. And unless Matt Stafford gets injured this year, he's going to be completely irrelevant for fantasy. I said in our draft shows, he's a project QB for me, and that is what he's going to be. And so he's landed in the right spot for him. Everything for him is ideal. Just from an actual draft capital point of view, I'm a bit confused. And from a fantasy point of view, I'm not really interested at this point.
No.
A player I was hugely excited about, and now I am massively disappointed about, is Mr. Kevin Concepcion, Casey himself. Really excited to see where he landed. I said in our previous shows, I was worried in case he became a Cleveland Brown, because that would mean a player I'm excited to watch I'm going to find tedious because he's in Cleveland. Who's his quarterback going to be? Who knows? Maybe his QB will be able to massage his fancy production. Who could that be? Who knows? But yeah, we'll see. Who you think is been throwing the ball? Is old Wandery Watson going to be there, or is it going to be Shedeur Sanders? From what it sounds like, Shedeur Sanders is the only player that can be bothered to turn up to practice in Cleveland at the minute from a QB point of view.
Yeah, I don't think Shedeur was awful last year either. I think he could, given some time, he could potentially sustain someone like Casey. They've been down on pass catches, haven't they? They haven't had a lot there. It can't be. I just don't see a path back for Watson. Even when he played, he was so bad. Anyway, let's not focus on those. As you say, Casey, a very, very talented wide receiver. The drops, you guys have talked about him before. You can say, oh, well, obviously, Amon-Ra, there were issues with drops, supposedly.
Yeah.
There were issues with drops, and they made it. But on the other side of that coin, there's plenty of players that have had issue with drops, and we just don't remember them because they weren't very good, probably because they dropped the ball a lot at NFL level. So which side of the coin is he going to go, really?
We spoke about his numbers before. So in 2023, 93% snaps from the slot, 2024, 82, and then last year, 34. So that versatility is really... So we spoke about how his roots of being valuable team could be his kick return work. He was a valuable kick returner. I don't think they're going to want to return. I think they're needing to be a wide receiver from day one and be catching passes that way. It's just such a different receiver. It'll be interesting how he is used and who it is he's working with as well. Fancy value... He's riskier now. I think, he was risky before outside of the top three. He's a bit riskier now being a Brown as well. I still see him going latter half of round one in your rookie drafts. If someone likes him, they may take him close to the middle, maybe. I'm not starting in week one, though. He's a player that I'd want to see a little bit before I was confident to start. Redraft, he's going to be a bench filler at best. He might... I don't know. Could he be someone that... No, I don't think he's going to be undrafted. I think he's going to be that bench filler because he's like to be the best option for receiving passes outside of Harold Fanning, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's have a chat about tight ends then, and it is Mr. Kenyon Sadiq. There was a little bit of chat about Kenyon Sadiq potentially ending up with my mighty Ravens. We went O-line, which I'm quite happy that we did. Sadiq, though, ends up on the Jets. Couple of fancy questions here. The main one that I'm worried about is, what does this mean for all of my shares of Mason Taylor after I ranted on about him constantly last year and was hoping to see some production from him this year? I mean, no one cares about my Mason Taylor shares, especially when we're seeing what Sadiq can do. But is he going to be out and out tight end? Is Mason Taylor? Are there going to be some sort of hybrid there? Is he going to impact both of them? Some people were low on Kenyon Sadiq anyway. My feeling is the same as it was pre-draft. I'm not expecting a Laporta, Brock Bowers sort of season from him at all, but he could do bits for us.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I do think for me it signals the end, perhaps, to Mason Taylor. They may go for some more two tight ends. Sorry, they may go for some more two tight end sets, and obviously you've still got Garrett Wilson there to be the main man. So pressure will be off him. Perhaps he certainly won't be taking the top cornerbacks or the top defensive players. He's got some talent. Like all tight ends, they're all beasts, aren't they? Massive units. A very, very talented player. I wouldn't be too upset. I've got quite a few leagues where I'm drafting kind of like 7th, 8th. I wouldn't be too upset to get him on my rosters. I think he'll come good in a year or two.
I mean, the Jets traded that 16 to get him, so they obviously have a plan for him. If they've moved around, that's because they wanted to get him there. I think we have to move straight on, because part of the bigger picture then is the target competition, and not from Mason Taylor, but Garrett Wilson, obviously, and Mr. Omar Cooper Jr. I mean, are the Jets exciting? Have the Jets just become exciting?
I think we'll have to wait another season. I think Gino's a stopgap, isn't he? You can see them building the pieces. Your quarterback is the last piece you put in place. They've made some excellent moves, and they've got to be better than we watched them when we went to see them in London. They were atrocious on offense. So they've got a lot there. Gino is capable of sustaining these plays with the odd, slightly wonky moment. Who do you prefer out of the two? Who would you rather take, Omar Cooper Jr. or Sadiq? I suppose it depends what you need on your roster.
It does. I don't know. I think Sadiq.
Yep.
I think I'll go Sadiq because it could be. I think either could be the right answer. I think at the minute I'll go Sadiq. It's a crowded receiver room, and I think my issue is this year is, can Gino sustain all three being fantasy relevant? No, I don't think so. There's a short answer. Garrett Wilson's got the higher probability. There is a world where all three of them have their spike weeks, and we can never truly play any of them at any point. Saying that though, we did have Gino looking decent for Seattle a couple of years ago. Maybe we see a bit of renaissance for him. What was he working with last year? Not a huge amount. He's got more weapons at his disposal this year. Potentially, we could see some value there, I guess. Should we move on to our final player, Tom? And a player that we didn't know what the answer to the question, which running back will the Seattle Seahawks draft at 32? What I was sure about is that whoever the Seahawks drafted at 32 would be my new RB2 overall, assuming that no one else went in round one, which they didn't. So I need to stick by it. Jadarian Price is now my RB2. It's the same as it was for Notre Dame last year. Love 1, Price 2. Let's see what happens with that this year. Am I being too excitable? I think as the fantasy community as a whole, we've all been very excited for the Seahawks drafted. Are we forgetting Charbonnet too soon?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Price has certainly shown talent at the college level. Charbonnet, well, we saw with Kenneth Walker, they split time, and that's your worry, isn't it? You're going to have this 1A, 1B, and you're never going to know which one of them to start. No. Price is probably slightly more talented than Charbonnet, but I don't think he's leaps and bounds better. It's a bit of a toss-up, really.
Is it going to be light for light then? Are we just going to see the same as we did last year, Walker Sharks? It was genuinely close to 50-50 across everything, wasn't it, with them?
Depressingly, probably, yes.
Yes.
Depressingly.
maybe if you're spending a round one pick on a running back when you've already got Charbonnet, you're not happy with Charbonnet doing it all for you, are you? If they were happy, there's other running backs they could have waited into round 2 for and gone a different route or traded out. I don't. Maybe if the Rams hadn't drafted Ty Simpson quite so high, maybe they would have traded down a little bit and taken someone earlier. Yeah, who knows? But I think at the minute for me, until we see where the other running backs land, and we're now talking about landing spot dependent for the competition rather than landing spot dependent for these players all the time. There is someone that could land in a brilliant spot, and we're then going, oh, actually, let's temper expectations with Price. But it's exciting for him at this point, at least. Well, that is our rundown, Tom, of round 1. Anything you want to add?
Sadly, I haven't been able to watch the draft. And my beloved Forest are on tonight, so I don't know if I'm going to get to watch it tonight. So I might have to do a double session tomorrow or something, round 1 and 2 all day long, I suppose.
And 3, it's 2 and 3 same time, not then day 2,
sorry,
so you can have lots of picks to watch. We will be back though in about 24 hours with our rundown of the whole of rounds 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll have a little bit of a show next week looking at the draft overall. Mainly because we finally have some landing spots to talk about and we can be excited about our rookie drafts again. But for now, that is all from me. That's all from Tom. So all that remains to be said is bada bing, bada bye.